Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to this video. Today we are taking a look at the GTX 960 2GB variant from Gigabyte. And back in the day this was quite a powerful card. These days not so much anymore, but yeah, it's just going to be interesting to check it out. We're gonna check the card out. We're gonna clean the card and disassemble it, clean it, put new paste on the processing unit die and reassemble it, and then just run a few benchmarks. I think for today I'm gonna do a different test bench than the one I usually do, just to prevent any bottlenecking. And yeah, apart from that, it's just going to be like some of the videos that I've made in the series already. And this is the card itself. It is the Gigabyte 962 gigabyte version. It's quite a nice looking card. It's got a nice little copper heat pipe over here, one supplemental power 6-pin requirement, and other than that, no backplate, just a black PCB at the front, kind of standard, but it looks quite nice. It's quite heavy, and yeah, just a classic little card there. So yeah, let's not talk too much about it. Let's get into the cleaning, and let's see how it does. Stay with me. Okay, so that's it for the cleaning, disassembly, cleaning, thermal paste, and reassembly of the 960 GTX 960 2GB. This is what it looks like now, nice and clean. I think it looks a lot better. Wasn't necessary to take off everything. I'm not sure I'm not entirely sure it's possible, because inside here, like taking off this plastic, there were some screws that I couldn't get to, so I'm not even sure if it would be possible to take the whole front plastic off. but it wasn't necessary. I was able to, using tongs and my baby wipes, I was able to clean inside as well pretty well. I don't see any extra dust, so I'm pretty happy with the result. And yeah, I think it looks nice. So let's move on to the testing, and yeah, let's see how the 962 gigabyte holds up in 2022. Let's do it. Alright, so getting into the testing here. This is the testing for the 962 gigabyte that we cleaned, and you can see the card right in there, sitting quite nicely in the case with the black PCB and everything, so it fits well. And let's see how it does. So right now we're running Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and yeah, the GPU seems to be at about 60 degrees Celsius, seems to be pulling around 100 watts, which is quite a lot, using around 99% of its power, using around 2 gigs of video memory, so that's kind of maxed out right now. CPU is at around 38 degrees Celsius, using about 70% of the CPU, pulling around 30 watts. And as for RAM, using about 4 gigs right now, and we are at about 67 FPS, between 60 and 70 FPS right now, so not looking bad at all. This is at max graphics on HD, and yeah, I must say looks really nice, really pretty game to look at, fantastic art style, and not too much going on in the scene here, just a little bit of scenery and some characters, including Crash, but yeah, really good result so far. Getting around 50 FPS, well, 55 FPS now, not really dropping below 50, and getting above 60 for the most part. It seems to be right around 68, 69 for the most part. So really good result in this one. Let's check out the next one. Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark right now, and yeah, this is running at HD. Everything's set to medium graphics. I think it's called normal in this title, and most of the post-processing effects are turned on. This is quite a demanding scene, so getting around 45 FPS is quite good here. millisecond latency there, little bit high, not too bad. Using around 5.5 gigs of RAM. The CPU is being pretty much maxed out, same with the graphics card. 45 degrees on the CPU, 64 degrees on the GPU there, and the GPU is pulling around 100 watts, CPU is pulling around 30 watts, so yeah, for considering the components, it's quite a power hungry system. Still getting around that 40 to 45 FPS mark. The game looks nice, even at medium settings. Running at HD, and yeah, it's an impressive title. A lot of foliage in this scene, and it looks pretty good, and the card is doing quite well. It's yeah, I mean, considering it's an older card, it's very playable for these kind of settings. And if you wanted to drop it down to like 720p, you could probably max out the settings as well. Let's see how it does in the big scene with the LODs. Getting around 75 to 80 FPS, quite a good result. A lot of LODs, a lot of foliage and pop-in happening in this scene. Beautiful scene to look at as well. And yeah, the CPU is around 45 degrees Celsius, GPU is around 70 degrees Celsius. I think it's just going to stay around there, and again, both of those are working hard, pretty much maxed out on both, and still pulling around 130 watts respectively. The latency is a little bit higher at 28 milliseconds for that frame time counter there, and the FPS is just below 40 now. But yeah, for like a console gaming experience, something similar to a console, this is running quite well, and most of the time you'll get around 40 to 50 frames. So it is definitely a playable experience, especially when playing on like a remote or something like that. So quite a good result. Let's check out the next one after this little scene is done. It's about to be finished, I think. Alright, loading into the Red Dead Redemption 2 benchmark here. And this is running at 720p. It wouldn't let me run at HD. I think just because of the limited VRAM on the card, and so I had to run it on 720p, so HD ready basically. And I did turn the graphics to basically medium. So there's like a slider that you can just pull. So I just put it at basically at the middle, and yeah, it doesn't look bad, and the result isn't bad. Like, it's getting around 60 FPS, so it's kind of surprising. I know it's not at HD, but it still looks quite nice, and it's good to know that even with an older card like this, you can still play a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, just not at the best quality settings. It looks a little bit blurry, but you could even put the graphics a bit higher and still get quite a good result, I think. The CPU is working quite hard. The GPU is reporting that, okay, it's like at around like, yeah, it's around 100% for the most part. The temperatures are a little bit colder now, using around all of the graphics cards VRAM, and using around 8 gigs of, well, 7.5 gigs of RAM. This PC only has 8 gigs, and yeah, the reason I put it in this system is because this is a quad-core Ryzen CPU, and it only has 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM as well. I think probably like 2000, I don't know, like 2400 something megahertz probably. So this is a good PC to benchmark with this graphics card, I think, because it's more realistic. It's the kind of PC that this card would go into, and yeah, I mean, if you turn the texture settings a little bit higher, it'll look really nice. And this is very playable. It's like, it hasn't dropped below 40 yet, so again, it's similar to like a PlayStation 4, Xbox One kind of console experience. And you know, these cards don't go for a lot now because they're like a couple generations old at this point, and so you know, it's an affordable system to build, I think. So I could definitely recommend something like this. This is more like what gameplay would look like and feel like. So getting around 45 FPS, and yeah, the CPU and GPU aren't actually maxed out most of the time, so you could probably push those texture settings a little bit just to get that texture popping a little bit more. But even as it is with the lighting and everything, it's still a really good looking game. Texture is a little bit blurry, but still looks nice. And yeah, the PC is handling it pretty much okay for the most part. I mean, this is a really demanding area, Saint Etienne, and the PC isn't maxed out right now. The temperatures are quite good, so I'm surprised. I mean, it's not running at HD, but it still looks nice and seems to be running okay. So Dead Red Redemption 2 definitely playable on GTX 960, 2 gigabyte. You just have to be prepared to make a few sacrifices when it comes down to it. So yeah, good results in this one, and amazingly, even at lower graphics settings and lower resolutions, this game still looks really nice. Um, Not as crisp, but still looks really nice. Um, Temperatures are getting a little bit warmer, but not really pushing it, and the input latency doesn't seem too bad. The frame time there, I mean, doesn't seem too bad, and pulling around 90 watts on the graphics card, pulling around 30 watts on the GPU, on the CPU. So yeah, quite a good result in this one. I'm surprised that it handled this game quite well. So if you were thinking about playing a game that's a bit more demanding, you can definitely do it. Just be prepared to make a few sacrifices. All right, let's get into the last test here. Okay, getting into Dirt 5. Um, this is kind of not really a test that I would usually do. This doesn't seem to have a built-in benchmark, so I'm just going to drive around a little bit, check out everything. And this is running at HD, but it is running at low settings. And right now we're at about 40 FPS, using around 5 gigs of RAM and around half of the CPU's power, but pretty much maxed out on the GPU. And as you can see, this is a really nice looking game, even at these lower settings. I think it's like a mixture of low and medium, but it's mostly low. And yeah, it's a fantastic looking game. Input latency there, I keep saying input latency. The frame time there is a little bit high, but um, but it's not too bad. It doesn't feel bad. I think, talking about that console experience, this is again pretty much up there with the Xbox Ones and PlayStation 4s. And so, yeah, it's doing quite well. CPUs are around 70 degrees Celsius. The GPU, the CPU is around 45 degrees Celsius. And again, the CPU isn't working that hard, but the GPU is working really hard. And, with these older cards, it just comes down to having a limited amount of VRAM at the end of the day. If this card had like 3 or 4 gigs, it would make a big difference because the card itself is quite powerful. Um, but yeah, so you just have to make some texture settings sacrifices at the end of the day. But again, this feels nice, it looks nice. I can imagine this on a big screen, maybe fine-tuning the settings, getting the perfect mixture between low and medium, and yeah, it looks really nice, it feels really good, and it is, just a testament that you don't always need the newest and best graphics cards and CPUs and RAM amounts to get a good gaming experience, because this is more than sufficient for just having fun. And it looks really nice again, it feels really nice, and I think it's definitely a good result. I mean, I purchased this card for around uh, probably around like $100, and the rest of the PC was probably around like $300. So for around $400, you could have a really good gaming experience. And yeah, I think what it comes down to is uh, the the card does quite well, and it actually did surprise me. It does better than what I thought it would. So yeah, let's talk about the result. And as you can tell, I'm quite pleased with it. Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so to basically just discuss the results we got with the 960 a little bit. I think the card did really well, considering what it costs these days. And so if you are on quite a tight budget, I don't really know what the cards go for. I would say, probably like around like under $100, something like that. Um, you could build like a whole PC for like $300 if you get a card like that, and it's not gonna like push maximum settings on games these days, but you'll be able to run everything. I'm not sure about Warzone because of the VRAM usage, but you'd be able to run most games and at medium settings on HD. So it's really not a bad result when you consider the cost. And so I think it makes it a good card for people on a budget and people that might want to play a few games, but aren't like hardcore gamers or anything. You saw in the benchmarks the game was running at normal for most games. The card was running at normal for most games, and yeah, it was always doing like above 60 for the most part. So maybe not in Red Dead, but even Red Dead could run at 720p. So yeah, I think you would struggle to find something that wouldn't work. And so I think I would recommend the card for people that need something kind of older and more basic and cheap to game with. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the benchmark. I hope you enjoyed it for the cleaning and the benchmark. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully you like the videos I'm trying to make, and if you have any comments or suggestions, please let me know. I'd love some engagement. Trying to build a little bit of a community, and yeah, just let me know what you think about the videos. Hopefully you liked it. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.